Hello everybody, I've created this. What is it? It's a circuit tester that involves a solar power monitor. This measures voltage, current, and power up to 100 volts, 100 amps DC. So you may be wondering why I've slapped it into a box and what the hell all this is. Well, let me walk you through it. Let's take a look at what we got. So here's our screen, and that'll show us all the information on it. You've got 4 wires, 2 switches, and a relay. So what's all this for? Well, these are how you tap the box into your circuit. All 4 of these wires go to different parts in the circuit, and one of them, the CS or circuit supply wire, isn't always going to be used. It's going to be used in a special circumstance that I'll explain later. The 2 switches here, one toggles the power to your circuit supply, and the other turns the screen on and off once you've hooked up everything as a safety feature, just to double check and not blow anything up. The relay is for the circuit supply, because this switch cannot handle the current demand that this can put out. Here's the inside of the box. You can see it's a little bit of a mess, but I'm going to provide a schematic so it's easier to visualize everything, and then you can jump between the schematic and here to figure out what's going where. Okay, here's our schematic of the box. Starting at the 2 power sign of the thicker red wire, we go through our fuse, T into 2 different switches, and go inside the relay. The switch on the right controls your screen, lets you turn it on and off. The switch on the left activates the coil in the relay. That allows a connection between the red and white wire that goes to your circuit. From there, the ground of the coil goes to a connection on the shunt that goes to the negative battery terminal. On the other side of the shunt, there's a yellow wire that goes to the ground of the load. So now we have to tee in our box to whatever circuit we're testing. Well, how are we going to do that? The first method is to power the circuit we want to test separately. First, we unhook our battery cables, then we hook up our red lead to the positive battery terminal, our brown lead to the negative battery terminal, our white lead to the positive side of the load, and our yellow lead to the negative side of the load. This allows us to completely isolate it from any other circuit on the equipment we're testing, thus giving us an accurate current reading. For the second method, we can leave both battery cables hooked up. Run our red lead to the positive battery terminal, pull the ground wire off of the load, run our yellow lead to the ground of the load, and run our brown wire to the ground wire we pulled off the load. This allows us to measure just the current of the circuit we want to test. In the configuration as seen in the schematic, we can test all circuits. Okay, I've got all the leads hooked up where they should be that I need. Let's turn on the screen. And as you can see, we have voltage and we're not drawing any amps. Let's turn on the lights. As you can see, we're pulling 7.48 amps. Okay, I have it hooked up another way. This time I unhooked the positive battery cable and I ran the circuit supply wire under the dash to the wire that goes to the headlights. So let's turn on our screen. As you can see, our battery's slowly dropping from the last test. But this time we can flick the circuit supply switch that turns on our lights. And we got about 7 amps of current. Okay, so just another little test. I've got my truck here, and I'm going to be testing the fog lights. And this time it's going to be a little bit different because now you can actually see kind of what I've done. So this white wire will go to the positive side of your load. It will power the fog lights. And that's why I've incorporated the switch. It'll turn on the fog lights, or whatever the load is, from the box. So you don't have to have the key on and it isolates just that load. So then we've got our other cables for our amperage measurement, which is the yellow and brown cable. And pretty much current will run through this cable, go through the shunt, and then go to the battery, and the box reads that current. And then we've got our positive wire. So let's see how much it's drawing. Let's go ahead and turn our screen on. So you can see, got a good battery voltage. And let's turn on our supply. As you can see, we're pulling 7.63 amps. Okay, I'm going to narrate this part because the noise from the wind and me moving around the camera got really loud at this point. But I have it hooked up a little bit different. I still have to run the white wire to the fog lights because I didn't have them hooked up properly. So that's still there, but I'm going to be measuring all loads just to show that this box can get over 10 amps. Okay, with the bed light, the cab light, and the hood light on, we're drawing around 3.5 amps. And I'm now going to go turn the headlights on. Okay, they're on now, and we're drawing 14.5 amps. Now I'm going to turn the fog lights on for a total of about 21.7 amps. And it spiked around 22. And that's just showing that the box can handle over 10 amps. And I'm just going to add the disclaimer here. No, you can't start the vehicle with the box hooked up. So what do I think? I think this is pretty cool. Is it absolutely necessary to build? Probably not. There's amp clamps, but the thing is that this actually measures the current directly compared to an amp clamp that measures electric fields. So, design changes that I would make. If I were to have to build another one for somebody, I would move the shunt and probably the relay to the top where they're more out of the way. The fuse I would also put out so you can easily change it rather than have to open it up to change. I would move the switches and space them out a little bit better along with the wires. Just kind of keep them a little bit more separated. And also I would put the screen on top rather than have it here. I intended to do that, but as normal I put the screen upside down and had to work with what I had. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this, and leave any input you got in the comments below, and I hope to see you in the next video.